Hello and welcome to the program. Debate on electoral reforms and proposed amendments to key sections of Nigeria's Electoral Act now of 2022 and the 1999 Constitution ahead of the 2027 elections and other elections in the country are dominating public discourse. The proposals were presented during the joint Senate and House of Representatives committees on electoral matters in conjunction with the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. One of such proposed reforms is the removal of the powers to appoint resident electoral commissioners (REC) from the president and vest the power in INEC. INEC is seeking the constitutional changes that will grant the commission the authority to appoint and discipline heads of its state offices, to be known as State Directors of Elections. INEC also emphasized the need for a single-day voting system and the eradication of permanent voters' cards ahead of the 2027 general election to ensure credibility, saying this will reduce the cost and streamline elections in the country. The Commission further renewed calls for the amendment to the Constitution to allow Nigerians in the diaspora as well as certain categories of citizens within the country to participate in future elections. In his remarks, INEC Chairman Mahmood Yakubu says the next elections come 2027 will be a challenging one. Therefore, he appealed to the National Assembly to expedite the passage of the proposed amendment to the 2022 electoral law and the 1999 Constitution. Well, I'm joined by Mr. Debo Adeniran, who is the chairman, Center for Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership, CACOL, to discuss INEC's proposed reforms. Thank you very much for joining me, Mr. Adeniran. Let me begin by asking, overall now, what do you make of INEC seeking changes to the 1999 Constitution and the Electoral Act of 2022 ahead of the 2027 elections and others after that?
In any procedure, in any law, in any guideline. So it doesn't matter how beautifully crafted you have a policy or guidelines. If people that are mischievous are allowed to operate it, they will still find a way around it, where they will manipulate the process to suit their whims and caprices. All of the reforms that have been suggested, yes, they are beautiful. They are capable of maybe achieving credible election. But then there will always be a loophole for those who have perverted minds. And that is the only fear, because it's still Nigerians that will operate the law, the guideline, and the reforms. It is Nigerians that will be candidates, and they will be the ones to be voted for. So it is the restructuring of the mind, refocusing, and new moral rectitude that is likely to help rather than changing policies and the rest of it.
INEC is also seeking full control over state electoral appointments, starting with appointing resident electoral commissioners to oversee polls in the state, rather than the president doing so as we have it currently. INEC now says it wants the power to discipline these recs. Is this a considerable proposal from the commission?
The truth is that it is possible that INEC will become truly independent, just like other institutions like Central Bank of Nigeria and other arms of government. They can be independent. They should be allowed to choose those who work with them and have the capacity to discipline them. But then it cannot be completely, INEC cannot be completely independent, just like the central bank cannot be completely independent of the executive, because they are not a separate arm of government. They run their affairs under the guidance of the presidency. Somebody will stay, the president will still have a say in the appointment or nomination on appointment of the chairman of INEC. And the voice of the president is actually stronger than the voice of all other arms of government who have one thing or the other to do, especially the judiciary. Even judiciary, as independent as we want to be, we are being made to believe, the president, the executive still play a lot of roles in controlling that arm of government, because the budget still have to be presented by the executive and defended by the Ministry of Justice. The same thing with the budget of INEC. No matter how independent it is, an arm of government or of the executive will still lord it over the budget and manipulate it in the ways that will suit the need or the interest of the ruling hegemony. So it doesn't matter what we do, but it will only give the outer world the semblance of true independence for the electoral umpire, which is okay. As a matter of fact, that they ask that they be able to discipline their members. All of those disciplinary actions will still pass through the judicial mill, and it is the judiciary that will have the last say, no matter how much they try. Because if they even set up a tribunal that we have once agitated for, that there should be electoral tribunal, even if they set it up, they will still have to appeal. The appellate court will still be there. The Supreme Court will still be there. It will not start the adjudication into any dispute in the conduct of affairs of INEC will not start and end with the proposed tribunal. It will not start and end in the high court, in the federal or state high court or appellate court. They will still go as far as Supreme Court. So basically, we should, well, it's worth it to some extent and to satisfy the yearnings of, but for me personally, I just believe that it is not the law. It is those who are operating the law. And the selection of those who will operate the new INEC law or guidelines should be those who have a clean pedigree, those who have performed wonderfully well in the areas they have found themselves serving Nigeria before, those who may not want to stain their clean garment that they have acquired, they have worked for over the years, those who have integrity, those who are professional, those who have a family background that you cannot be ashamed of. Those are the kind of people we should look for. They are there in Nigeria, although unsung. Many of them have not had the opportunity of being in prominent positions like INEC before, but they have kept their cool, and they have been men and women integrity in the small corner they find themselves. These people can be sought out and be appointed.
Let me also get your thoughts on INEC's request to conduct all elections in one day in the country in a bid to save costs. We're talking of presidential, governorship, the National Assembly. Now, we understand how challenging this exercise is for INEC in various areas, such as logistics, despite assurances that all is in control just before the elections. Wouldn't INEC be stretching itself thin if this were the case, that's to conduct all elections in one day?
Well, I don't think so, because it doesn't take much to compile statistics and analyze it. Now that we have several machines, packages, apps that can help collate figures and decide on the results in real time. So it is not likely. What should be done is for INEC to have the power to screen even the candidates from different political parties. And as a matter of fact, we have once recommended that not just every Tom, Dick, and Harry should be allowed to register a political party. The political party should be seen to have the capacity to run the affairs of this country. And the criteria should be set in such a way that it will not make a joke out of our electoral system, where we have about 20, 30 political parties fielding candidates. The candidates nominated by various political parties should be pre-screened to be sure that they are actually capable of carrying out the assignment of governance that they are likely to be saddled with in case they won election. And that screening should actually reduce the number of those who are capable, of running the election and winning the election. Now, those we make it easier for INEC to control the number of paperwork that they have to do. All of these screening machines should be made to be compiling the results in real time, like IREF, should be fed in such a way that it won't be necessary for human intervention anymore, and that people can use their maybe biometric statistics to even vote. I think that is one of the reform that they are talking about. That is, you don't need to keep on using the archaic system to conduct the affairs of this country anymore. We have several documents, several, what do we call it now? Several documentation that could assert the personality of the person that came to vote. And the only thing is to prove that they are alive, their eyeballs should be screened, their fingertips will be also screened, and all of that should be enough. Since we have NIN, that NIN and even voters card have collected our biometrics.
Well, it seems now that INEC and the Nigerian Senate are on the same page, because a bill to amend the Electoral Act of 2022 to provide for same-day elections nationwide as a cost-saving measure and to reduce voter apathy scaled second reading in the Senate back in March this year. Speaking of voter apathy, you think same-day elections will make a difference?
Well, the communication was breaking intermittently, but I believe that voter apathy can be reduced if we allow people to vote where they find themselves without necessarily have to go and queue up in the rain, in the sun. If people can use their smartphones to vote, it's just that they may need to download a particular application that will make them to be to identify themselves, and we are able to do that. If we can withdraw money, without necessarily having to go to the bank, then we should be able to vote without having to go and queue up at polling station. Technology has gone beyond all this pedestrian level where everybody will have to queue up and they have to see you, they have to take your picture all over again, even when your fingerprints will bring out your pictures that have been taken when you are registering for NIN, when you are registering for as a voter, and all of that. You have all of these data that have been compiled. Let them harmonize the data if there's any doubt. Any other thing that is, any other requirement that is not embedded in our NIN should be included one way or the other. And let us be able to vote the way we withdraw money or transfer money from one point to the other. So that is the only way by which voter apathy could be reduced. Some people feel too big to go and queue up. All of these people will be able to vote, with their own machines, with their computer or with their smartphones and all that. They will vote. It will reduce risk. It will reduce violent attack. It will reduce all sorts of things, and it will reduce manipulation of electoral process. And of course, there are applications. The application to be used will be foolproof, that nobody can hack into, and there should be backup, machine, or what do you call it now? Backup data storage facility that will not allow anybody to manipulate the computer system or the data system and get away with it. Because as people, as voters cast their ballot, it should go to both the IRF, the immediate storage facility, and the backup, which will not be available to those who are actually conducting the election until there will be a need to prove that the ballot cast is the result that is announced at the end of the balloting period. So basically, it will reduce costs, it will reduce violence, it will enhance security, it will, a lot of things. It has a lot of advantages. I agree with them.
Although Mr. Adeniran, we'll get back to our conversation after this short break. Do stay with us. We will be back shortly. Welcome back. Let's continue the conversation on proposed reforms by INEC. That's reforms to the Electoral Act and 1999 Constitution. Mr. Debo Adeniran, chairman of CACOL, is still with me on the program. Now, Mr. Adeniran, still on the issue of same-day voting, with which the Senate and INEC as well now say will boost voter participation. Do you think Nigeria has the technological infrastructure, to handle the demands of same-day elections? Because that's another challenge that confronts INEC.
The money we spent, running physical identification and the rest of them is enough to acquire the technology. But I believe that we have Nigerians that are technologically savvy to the extent of even developing a homegrown, application that can be used for our own election. Everywhere you go in the world, you find Nigerians making their waves, in the field of technology. Even in Nigeria here, we have several firms that are very innovative, that are very creative, and that have been performing wonders in the areas of development technology. Look at Remita. I mean, if we can use Remita and it's working for the past 8 or so years that they have introduced it into our payment system, we should believe that a company like those who develop Remita, that system specs, can still develop new applications that with which we can vote and be collated in real time without wasting time. As a matter of fact, that application itself can be used. They only have to adjust it to suit the purpose of electoral system. So basically, we can vote one day. Even the diaspora voting that has been talked about for so long can be included.
And there's the flip side to INEC's reform proposals. Nigeria's House of Representatives Committee for Political Parties had earlier called for the unbundling of the commission by removing the power for registration and regulating political parties and vesting the power in another institution. How good do you think this idea is?
They don't have to remove those powers. They should have, as a matter of fact, like I said it earlier, they should have more powers to whittle down the number of registrable, political associations. The conditions should be made more stringent. The capacity to administer the life of people should be measured in technical terms, in terms that will ensure that if they eventually won election, they will run a government that will be truly democratic. And if you don't want democracy, we should be able to determine how we want to be governed by ourselves through through the choices that we will have made for ourselves. So basically, if we have a truly independent electoral body, like we are talking about, they should be granted the powers to determine how they want to operate. Like I said the other time, once we have credible Nigerians with good and enviable track record in places they have served before, they should be entrusted with the capacity to run our electoral system from cradle to grave without interference from another body, another government agency. Let them do it, just like the CBN is doing. There's no human being that is perfect. I'm not saying that we should look for complete saints to run our electoral system, but we should also be vigilant. As soon as we discover that somebody is capable of soiling his or her hands in the filthy, in the filthy jar of electoral corruption, manipulation, and the rest of them, evidence should be gathered against such a person. And as a matter of fact, the operations of the INEC itself should be guided by, by technology, that we monitor everything that is being done at every stage. And there should be backup system that cannot be manipulated by the same set of people. So once this is done, we have to begin to trust ourselves. Once we repose adequate trust in a set of people to govern our electoral system, let us put our trust, the trust. Let us put confidence. Let us repose adequate confidence in them. There will always be some fault here and there, but there should be consequences for wrongdoing. Every wrongdoing in the electoral system should be treated according to the enabling law. And the enabling law, I said, should be very strict on all of the offenses that are attached to the operations of INEC. So basically, we should repose adequate confidence in ourselves. They don't need to unbundle anything. They just have to operate within the administrative, purview of INEC.
Well, the 2027 elections is in 21 months. Hopefully, it's enough time to discuss and agree on what reforms should be implemented before then. Mr. Debo Adeniro, Chairman, Center for Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership, a call. Thank you for coming on the program and talking to us. That's it on this episode. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again next time.